want to run a test? Yeah. John McBain, he was a sociology student here. Okay, he took my class in 2005, right, immunology, and he gave his testimony in my class. So impressive. He's leaving for China early October. The next semester, I'm going to teach juvenile delinquency. Okay, and his testimony is so correlated to juvenile delinquency. So I would like to invite him to be a guest speaker and give his testimony how he's saved by the Lord. Okay, yeah, please.
Hello.
Thank you.
As Dr. Cohen introduced me, I'm John McBain. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was born in Colombia, South America, in Bogota, and I came to America when I was 7 years old. I'm going to begin kind of just by sharing how I ended up in America. When I was 3 years old, my father left home. He was taken away by the police. At 5 years old, my mother took me and three of my sisters and put us in an orphanage. During that time in the orphanage, we had an American lady who was a single woman who started looking for, wanted to adopt some kids. And that's where she ended up, finding out about me and my sisters, and through about 2 years of paperwork and process, she finally was able to adopt us. So I came to America when I was 7 years old, and when I came to America, I had a lot of anger, a lot of bitterness in my heart already from the pain and the rejection I received, as a child. In the orphanage, I went through a lot of abuse. There was a lot of violence that went on in the orphanage between the young men. The older boys would beat up on the little boys, and a lot of things would happen. The nuns themselves were not exactly the sweetest ladies on the planet. So there was a lot of anger in my heart when I came to America. I seen people who were supposed to be trustworthy showing that they were not trustworthy. Finally, when I come to America, my mother put me in school, and I fought and did a lot of just crazy things, but all that anger in me continued to build. Finally, around the age of 12, some things got pretty heavy in my life, and I ended up basically telling God to get lost. I told God, I don't believe in you, I don't know who you are, but if you are a God, you're not a good God, so I don't want to have anything to do with you. So basically 2 years later after that, I had become so consumed in myself and in my world and my life that I just determined, I was going to be evil. My adopted mother at that time couldn't handle me any longer, so when I came home after a fight at the age of 14, my bags were at the front door packed, and my mom said, give me the house key, leave your bags, get out, and don't ever come back. So from 14 on, I ended up on the streets of Minneapolis, and I lived in the streets for about 2.5 years. During that time on the streets, I stayed on the streets. I found places to live. One place where some people might know of is the Prince, or whatever he calls himself nowadays. He had a nightclub up in Minneapolis that I used to actually sneak behind, and I used to sleep up there above the fans that blew out all the hot air out of the nightclub at night. What ends up happening is about a year into the time on the streets, I'd learned how to panhandle. I'd learned how to make money, either through cons or just simply through begging. And I was dating this girl. Me and her broke up. I still cared about her a lot. And what ended up happening is I confronted this man who was offering to give her a place to stay for the night. She was drunk. I didn't want her to go there. I was afraid for her. So I confront this man. I'm 15 years old. I haven't eaten very much, so I'm kind of skinny and small at the time. It got to the point where I was willing to go get into violence with this man. Well, some gangster disciples were actually watching what was going on. And when they were watching this, they saw this little kid standing up against this big old biker guy. And so that impressed them. And me and Paco ended up becoming friends. That was the guy's name, Paco. We ended up becoming friends, but that night it opened up a door for the gangster disciples to start coming into my life. It kind of brought me in. They saw what had happened. They started kind of trying to bring me in and getting me involved with them. And at the age of 15, I ended up, becoming a gang member. I became a disciple. I remember specifically something that comes to my mind. Something that I remember specifically was the night that I went in to get blessed into the gang. They asked me the question, and they asked, why do you want to be a disciple? And I remember specifically saying, I need a family, and I don't have a father. And these men took me in, and they brought me into the gang, under that premise, that I was looking for a family. And I now, remembering that now, I realized that was the core for what I was doing. These men taught me how to do cons. They taught me how to, how to use women. They taught me how to use drugs and how to do many different things that most people, at the age of 15 weren't going to know how to do. I found influence. I found that I had a lot of influence with the people in authority. For some reason, I kept having favor. And so when I was 17 years old, by the time I turned to be 17, I had already determined that my life and my calling in life was to be a mob boss. I was determined to be one of the leaders if I could. What finally happened to change my life was what happened here when I was 17. I was coming home from a gang party at about 1 o'clock in the morning. I was going to go catch the last bus, and I was in downtown St. Paul. And I'm getting to the bus stop, and I look around, and I noticed, specifically, I just noticed that the whole area was like a ghost town. There was nobody around, there were no cars, nothing. And that was weird, because normally St. Paul isn't like that. You still see cabs and people, going from the nightclubs to the cabs and stuff. I had been high at the time when I was going to the bus stop. I'd been drinking, and I'd been smoking pot and doing a couple other things. And in about a hundredth of a second, I was just like that. I was sober. Sober as could be, and I was like, man, what happened? And I get to the bus stop, and I'm going, what happened to me? And I hear this voice, and there's a clear voice, and it said, John, if you don't change your ways, you're going to die and go to hell. Just clear as day. And I turn around, look behind me, and I'm going, hey, who are you? Step out here and say it to my face. If you got the guts to say it behind my back, say it to my face. And God speaks again, and I realized it was God. And God says, John, if you don't change your ways, you're going to die and go to hell. But I don't believe in God. So I'm like, if you really are God and you really care, then you say this one more time to me, and I'll really believe you're talking to me. So the third time, God spoke, and he says, John, if you don't change your ways, you're going to die and go to hell. And in an instant, it was like a shot in my mind. I saw an image, I saw a video, a black and white video of my life, of how I was going to die. I saw myself get captured by 15 vice lords. They took me behind this bookstore called Schindler's. And in that alley, they proceeded to beat the tar out of me. They took turns beating on me, kicking me, punching me. While I'm laying on the ground after they beat me up, I hear one of the guys say, hey, look, glass bottles. And they all picked up these glass bottles that were all over the floor out there, and they took them and they'd run up to my head and they'd throw the bottles at my head and shatter them on my skull. So this is going on, and after they complete doing what they're doing there, they stand me up, and the leader of the gang walks over and pulls out a knife, and he hands it to one of the guys, says, stab him, and then hand it on to the next guy, and they take turns stabbing me with his knife. They throw my body on top of these trash bags, and the leader comes over with a gun, puts a clip in, pulls it back, and just empties the entire clip into my body. I don't know how much time passes, but all of a sudden there's a female cop in the alley with her partner. She's got her flashlight over her shoulder, door open, and she's got a gun pointed towards me. And you see my body, and you can see my body laid over on top of these trash bags with the steam of my body coming off my body, and I can see that I'm still there. I'm still alive, but I'm dead. There's no way anybody's going to save me now. And I come out of this and I realize, man, I don't want to die like that. And so I tell God, I say, God, I don't want to die like that. So if you really are a loving, caring God, then here's your chance. I'll give you one chance. You take me off the streets, you take me off the drugs, and you take me out of the gang. And if you can do that, I'll give you my life. Otherwise, leave me alone, because I wasn't looking for you. A week later, then I go home. I proceed to go home, I go to sleep, I wake up, and for the next week, I continue to live my life as I always had. Sleeping with women, doing drugs, doing whatever I always did. At the end of that week, a guy named G Money ends up violating a bunch of officers without permission. He was one of the leaders in the gang. He went out and decided he was going to discipline some people who had been talking about him without permission from Odessa. That made Odessa mad. And Odessa says, okay, I want that guy's head. I want him dead. If he's willing to override me, he considered it against a threat to his position. So he puts out a bounty for G Money's head for $1,000. Tells all the homeless people and all that, and everybody's looking for this guy. He goes on the run, and then Odessa comes to me and says, John, you've been like a little brother to me. At this time, I had become a violations officer. It was my job to take other disciples, and whenever somebody broke the laws of the gang, it was my job to enforce those laws. So he comes to me and he says, you've been like a brother to me, and I want you to take G Money's position. I want you to take his place. Well, with that was going to come more money, more drugs, more power. You know, everything that, you know, I would have wanted, because that's what I thought my life was going to be. And I tell Odessa, yeah, you know, let me think about this. Just give me a time, let me think about it, I'll get back with you. I leave, and that Saturday, that next Saturday, after all that stuff had happened, where I had the vision and all that, that next Saturday, I wake up in the morning with the determination in my mind, I'm going to go kill T, who was this Crip that had violated one of my best friends. He jumped him for no reason, you know, and just beat the tar out of him. And I promised my friend Ira, I said, I'm going to get that guy for you. So I determined that Saturday I'm going to get this guy. And I woke up determined to find him and kill him. I started going downtown to all the places I knew. I started downtown Minneapolis. I started looking at all the spots we used to hang out at. Finally, I got to our last spot, and every time I'd get to a spot, he'd been there like half an hour earlier. And so finally, when I get to downtown Minneapolis, to Hennepin Avenue, across the street from Slice, New York, there's this bus stop that we used to all hang out at. I get there, and I ask a couple of the guys, hey, anybody here seen Crip? Anybody here seen T? And they're like, yeah, he was here a few minutes ago. Well, where is he? Oh, man, you missed it. What? Well, he was caught around the corner selling crack. He ain't going to be getting out for a while. I was like, man, and I lost it. I became so angry and infuriated inside, because I was like, man, I was determined to kill this guy. Because this was the only guy that was an actual enemy of mine. You know, that actually could have been anything that would have, you know, in my mind, triggered anything bad. So I was going to kill this guy, be done with it, pay my friend Ira back, and be done with it. I go into this place called Pops on the street corner to go play video games and try to blow some of my anger out. I'm throwing quarters in, and all of a sudden, this kid shows up. And he taps me on the shoulder and says, hey, John. And I'm like, man, who are you? Leave me alone, dude, I don't know you. And I go back to playing the video games. He taps me, no, John, don't you remember me? We were in junior high together. I don't know you, dude, leave me alone. Hey, man, you may not remember me, but you know, I remember you, and I've been hearing that if I wanted to sell something, I should talk to you. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, my girlfriend's brother is making, you know, Strawberry Fields, LSD. He's making double dip Strawberry Fields LSD. And I said, all right, what's that got to do with me? Well, I don't know how to distribute. And I was told that if I talked to you, you could do this for me. Let's go outside. We go around the corner. I said, okay, you know, let me see what you got. He pulls out these little sheets of acid, you know. And I said, okay, take 2 hits off of that and, you know, swallow them. So he takes 2 hits off and he swallows it. I said, okay, now give me 2 hits. I take 2 hits and I said, okay, if this does any good, you know, we're really going to be rolling tonight. If it's not, you know, I don't know you. We go inside, we continue playing video games. All of a sudden, the video game comes alive. I was playing this game called Wizards and Warriors, where you go up this tower, you're going up this tower trying to save this princess or something at the top. Well, the little dude on there all of a sudden comes alive and he starts doing things that the game isn't supposed to be doing. He's swinging his axe like he's on a movie or something. I'm going, whoa, this stuff's kicking in. So I grab him, I say, hey man, let's go talk. We start talking, and we get on the bus. So where are you going to spend the night tonight? He goes, I don't know yet. I said, well, why don't you come spend the night with me? At this time, I was living in a home in St. Paul, right on the border of St. Paul, Minneapolis. But they took in street kids. As long as you had a part-time job and you were showing them that you were trying to change your life, they would let you stay there for free. And it was a Minneapolis city-run thing. So I was using this place for about 6 months now. I've been staying there, doing a part-time job, selling drugs most of the time, hanging with my friends, doing that. I had no intention to change. So I'm using these people. While I go there, I've built a relationship with them. I call them up, hey, I'm coming over there, bringing this kid. All right. Well, by the time we get there, it's like we're totally tripping out. We get lost, and I'm finding myself feeling for this kid. Because he tells me, man, I've never done this stuff before. And I'm thinking, oh, no, no good, no good. 2 hits of LSD, double dip Strawberry Fields is the same as 4. And if you do that the first time, that could really mess you up. It could seriously mess you up for life. So I'm like concerned in my back of my mind and telling myself, I got to keep this kid happy, because if I don't keep him happy, he could go on a bad trip and it could be really bad for him. Like, he might never come out of it. So I'm worried about him doing that, so I'm trying to keep him happy. I'm trying to make him laugh, and I'm concerned about him. Well, that wasn't normal for me, because by this time I'd become so hard towards people, I didn't really care. I didn't really care. I did crimes, I committed things against people, and I didn't think about it because it didn't bother me. Because in my mind, all people were bad. Everyone was bad. I didn't believe they were good people. I remember when I first got on the streets, the men that taught me how to panhandle, after I made $50, they called me over and said, hey man, how much money you get? Oh, I made about $50. Yeah, let me see that. So I'd show them the money, they'd take it and give me $5. And I'm thinking, hey, hold up, I did all that work. Why are you taking my money? But what am I going to do? You know, these guys are twice my size. They're a lot older than I am. You know, so I'm stuck with my $5 at 14 years old. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, there is no good person. These guys said they'd help me. So I'm sitting here finding myself having compassion on some guy who I don't know, for one. I don't remember him. And I'm worried about him. So finally what ends up happening is we get lost, and I'm going, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to get back to the house to get this kid in there because he's starting to really trip out. And all of a sudden, this kid walks by that I know from St. Paul, who's known as a constant 24/7, trip. He was always on LSD, always high on acid. And he walks by, and I'm like, hey man, you know where I live at? He's like, yeah, just follow me. Well, these guy had never been to my house. He'd never been to the place I've been staying. And he walks me right to the house. I'm like, well, all right, cool. Later, dude. And he leaves. Go up to the door. We get inside. Well, when you're tripping on acid, you're not supposed to be able to sleep because acid's a really fast trip and it causes your mind to wake up. And everything's like really chaotic. But this guy goes upstairs. They take him up to his room. He lays down and he goes to sleep. I go up to my room, and because I've been staying there so long, they'd already designated a room for me. I go up there, I lay down, and I fall asleep. And while I'm sleeping, I all of a sudden begin to have a dream, and God begins to show me my life. And it's like I see this hurricane. Excuse me, I'm getting hot. I see this hurricane. It's like a tornado or a hurricane, whatever you call it. It's spinning, and it grabs my life from the moment I'm at, and it like rewinds this film backwards really fast, all the way to the point where I'm in my mother's womb, and it rolls forward. And as it rolls forward, I see everything in my life that's affecting me. I see how the words and the actions of my father, how my father physically beat my mother many times, even when I was in the womb. He'd curse at her and cuss at her, and she did the same. She'd return violence to him in anger. How that affected me. Every time I heard that in the womb, it felt like I was getting hit, like I was getting kicked. It goes on as I'm watching the rest of my life and all the wicked things I'm seeing and all the sins that I'm committing and sins that people are committing against me. I begin to hear and see and feel the glass shattering on my body and the bullets going into me. I feel all this stuff going on while I'm seeing this dream. It happens 3 times. The third time, it goes past the moment I'm at, boom, instantly to that last image I saw about a week earlier. And I'm laying on top